Hello. So I just got back from SEEK 2026, and I just thought it'd be probably good to give my honest opinion on how it went. For me, someone who has never been to a SEEK conference before, and maybe it might help anyone who's thinking about going next year to see it if it might be useful to you. Um, so I haven't been, as I said, I haven't been to SEEK or any of the previous conferences. This is my first one, and I went with my university. It was really fun. There were 70 of us that went this time around, and I think I heard of it um, through one of my friends or in an email or something like that. I thought it'd be really, this is my last year in college, so I thought it would be a good thing to do just because um, I didn't want to regret not going and at least seeing how it was for myself, especially since it's my last year. So I just went and signed up for it. At this conference, so I went to the Fort Worth one, and we had speakers like Father Gregory Pine, Father David Michael Moses, Gabriel Castillo, Sister Josephine. A lot of speakers who have influenced me one way or another, even before knowing that they were going to be at this conference. Trent Horn, I think I maybe said that already, maybe I didn't. A lot of speakers who I have been influenced by, even when I was in high school, when I was still getting deeper into my faith. So definitely a really powerful conference with a lot of moving talks and a lot of compelling words. So my honest thoughts. When I got there to the check-in day, I flew in from Chicago, which is where my house is, where my home is, and I flew into Fort Worth, and I actually have an apartment there in Fort Worth that I'm also living in, and it was about 20 minutes from the Gaylord Convention Center, which is where the SEEK conference is being held. And my sleep schedule was out of whack, and really the second day, which is to me is the first full day, I was completely out of it. I was so tired, and I was forcing myself to go to each of the talks just because I wanted to get the most out of it. So first point I would say is make sure that you are well rested. Don't make the mistake that I did, going on a couple hours of sleep. It's going to be really tough, especially sitting through talks when you want to be fully engaged, taking notes, and just really getting, not, I don't, I, it sounds bad to say just get your money's worth, because it's obviously more than just like a normal conference. It's a very rich, it can be a very rich spiritual experience as well. But yeah, just make the most out of what you put in and what you paid for, because at the end of the day, the tickets aren't really that cheap, especially if you buy them a little later. So yeah, make sure that you're well rested. I would also recommend that you bring stuff for the entire day, especially if you're commuting, because I wasn't staying at the convention center hotel, at the Gaylord Convention Center hotel. So I learned the hard way that you should bring a lot of your essentials, like food, maybe your toothbrush would be good as well. I brought things like that, snacks, because at the end of the day, the food at the hotel is pretty expensive. And then even when the lunches that they provide, that was the other thing that I didn't really like. The lunches were really small, which is understandable. But if I'm just gonna gripe about something, that would be one of the things. So bring food, and there are food trucks available, which can be pretty substantial. But again, there's gonna be an upcharge just because that's the way things are at these sorts of situations. So yeah, make sure you're prepared for the day. Bring what you need for an entire day, essentially, because you're gonna be there from early morning for mass, typically, or at least the first talk, until maybe 10 o'clock or so, which is what, how late I was staying. So be prepared for an entire day's worth of moving around and being attentive and being awake. So that's the first thing. My honest thoughts on that are just, you know, fix your sleep and bring all the necessities. Because I got hit over the head with that, especially over sleep, because I would be in adoration, which is something that they have throughout the day, and I was having a lot of trouble staying awake during adoration. I would pray a rosary and then fall asleep for like 10 minutes and then like realized I fell asleep, and then like it was just a mess, right, for me. Obviously there's still a lot of graces that I got from it, but it was definitely a battle, and I could have been a lot more prepared for that. So yeah, the other thing is, I would say go to as many talks as you can. Now this is turning into an advice thing, assuming that you're already going, which I don't want it to be. There are a lot of talks, let's put it that way. There's a lot of talks. This is a conference that's it's the larger proportion of what you're getting out of it is definitely so. Okay, there are a large portion of what you're getting out of it is the information and the powerful words from all of the speakers. So you're going to be getting new insights on how to think about things in the interior life, how to approach practical things as well. Trent Horn gave a talk on how you could debate people or persevere in defending your faith by asking good questions. And if somebody is asking about the faith or prodding, there's a certain way that you can ask questions, which he proposed, and he brought people up on stage to play devil's advocate, which is a little fun, which is pretty fun. So there are practical things like that. There are more spiritual things, like reflecting on the life of Saint Joseph and how he is a really strong model for men of today's society, where we live in a world where men are becoming more and more effeminate, in that they aren't acting with virtue and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we had talks on how Saint Joseph, the foster father of Jesus, is a perfect model for men of today. So we have a lot of talks like that. We also have a lot of spiritual benefits. So we had big confession line, probably for like all of them, all of the people at SEEK in Fort Worth probably attended. So I would say, well, a large portion of them at least. So probably like a 3,000 person confession line, which is insane to think about. 3,000 souls confessing their sins to the priest in persona Christi, right? Which is a really amazing thing. And that line went in like 10 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. I was in the back of that line, and it went by just like so quickly. And the confession was very much needed for me. And then right after adoration was happening, it was just an amazing spiritual experience. It was just like a 4,000 person adoration session. That's a really terrible way to put it, but we're having adoration with 4,000 people together in the room, all these young Catholics with their hearts on fire, and just adoring our Lord in the Eucharist. And the Eucharist was processing around through the rows in the auditorium, and it was just a really powerful, moving experience. It was about 2 hours probably. I don't know if I said that already, but yeah, it was very rich. So yeah, there's a lot to get out in terms of talks. Just being grounded. If you already have it down, it's still, I would say it's still good to keep you grounded and help you to see things in different ways, especially new techniques that people use. So, like Gabriel Castillo with the talk on the rosary, he gave some tips on how to pray the rosary better for even, and that's why I say, like, even if you already, are living a good, virtuous life, especially as a young person, I think it's still worth hearing things like that in those talks, because he gave a nice little formula, um, of recollection. I think he said, like, um, consideration when you're meditating on the mystery of the rosary, like, consider what it's like to be there and converse. So when you're in the scene in your interior castle, um, ask the Lord about anything, and just talk with him and converse with him, and do that before each mystery. And so you have spiritual things like that. Um, so yeah, there's a lot to get out of the talks. Obviously, adoration, confession are really good things to go for, and mass. Um, Honestly, I was expecting mass to be a lot more modern, and maybe progressive. I don't know if that's like a politically incorrect term to use here. But yeah, I thought it was. I honestly, I thought it was gonna be like very, modern or something. Um, I fall on the more like traditional side in terms of what I prefer for mass, and it was pretty good. There were chants for the masses. The the songs that they used were pretty good, I would say, and mass was done in a very reverent way, I would say. I don't think there were. I'm not sure if they're Eucharistic ministers or not. Again, this just depends on, like, it varies from Catholic to Catholic, obviously, with these kinds of things. But I'm not sure if they're. I think it was only there were only priests who were distributing communion, at least at the Fort Worth one. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but at least, yeah, from where I was standing, it seemed that way. And so if that's something that's important to you in terms of reverence and devotion, that's kind of how that played out. They do con celebration of the Mass, if I'm saying that correctly, which is where you have multiple priests doing the consecration, which some people, I've heard a lot of different things on that. So that's another thing to throw out there. Um, I think the really awesome thing for me was that, like, there were so many people in one place celebrating Mass, and not just, you know not just any type of person, but people my age. And it was very moving and compelling to see all these people together in one place celebrating, you know the highest form of prayer, right? The sacrifice of the Mass, the sacrifice of the lamb. um So for me, if there was nothing else to take away from it, I would say that the coolest thing was seeing all these people, all these young Catholics together, celebrating Mass, and that was very moving for me. Something that I'm gonna remember, and it's gonna keep me motivated, just knowing that there are other people out there, that I'm not, alone in my bubble, and that can always happen. Like, especially when I go home and, like, I go to daily Mass or something, and everyone else is, like, above 50 years old in Mass, which is, like, nothing against them. Like, obviously we love them, but I wish there were more young people as well, in addition to those people. So it was very compelling to see more people my age, celebrating Mass. So yeah, it was really another really cool thing that I would, um, that would tell people who are considering going, like, you're gonna see a lot of young people there, that are your age, that also have their hearts on fire for the Lord. And that's kind of my regret also. um there are so many young people, and I wish I talked to more people, um there's also an opportunity to go to this place called Mission Way, which is where there are a bunch of booths, small Catholic businesses and ministries and things like that. I would recommend, if you do end up going, go to those booths, right? Go talk to people, right? So you get the talks, you get the mass, and all these spiritual benefits, but also entrench yourself um, in the communities that you find there, and try to make friends. I feel like I really didn't talk to anyone except for the people that I knew that were going. We had a pretty big group going from my university, but branch out. Like try to meet a lot more new people, a lot more. Try to meet more people, um, because yeah, to be honest, like um, just like a note to myself, like for anyone who's like out there, um, with the intention of dating, with like who, if you're looking to date, um, I would say this is like a perfect opportunity for you to find like-minded people. Um, there were a lot of like really beautiful women there. I'm not gonna lie, and so um, I wasn't looking to. That's not why I went. But especially like if you're someone who is looking for um, finding a future spouse, like that's a very, I say that's definitely a place for it, um, for meeting people. So that would be a really good thing. Um, yeah, and I wish I talked to more people. So there's that. Yeah, there's that little regret, I would say. And that's kind of a piece of advice that I'd offer to anyone who's considering going. Talk to as many people um, as possible, maybe. And yeah, a lot of young, beautiful Catholic women out there, especially for, like people who are considering, um, discerning marriage. Could be the place to do it. Um, and on the flip side, there are a lot of brothers and seminarians, and um, or if you're a girl, like there are a lot of nuns and um, novices as well, to kind of gauge that as well, if that's the vocation that you are called to. So a lot of good things there. Um, I'm kind of just like talking off the dome, so I don't really know what I'm saying. But yeah, I would say like, yeah, branch out. If you go, talk to as many people as you can, um, and try not to skip out on any of the the slots. But at the same time, pick talks that you're actually interested in. Um, yeah, because you don't want to get burnt out either. There are so many speakers and so many opportunities to meet speakers. Like we actually ran into Father David Michael Moses, and my group actually attend the same university that he attended for a short while, which is really cool to think about. And we were talking to him in the elevator and stuff. I actually have a picture. Maybe I'll attach it if I'm not too lazy. Probably it will be too lazy though, because I'm just gonna upload this and go to sleep. Um, yeah, and I had a very short banter with Gabriel Castillo, the the creator of Gabby After Hours YouTube channel. Really cool stuff. I told him that I was a fan of his, and he was like, "Okay, don't pay attention to anything in my talk because you've already heard this before. And just pray for us," which was really cool. Laura Horn, Trent Horn's wife, was actually on her way out, and we opened the door for her and her kids, and it was like I was like starstruck. I was like, "What?" So cool. Um, and it was really cool seeing her too, because she is recovering from brain surgery, and she looked like really good. She looked healthy and well, and so like the prayers definitely paid off and everything. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of people that you can meet, both speakers and just like other students, or just like other attendees at the conference. So that's something to look forward to as well if you're trying to branch out in terms of community. Um, Other thing I would say too is like, don't be afraid to pull the priests off to the side and talk to them about anything, or if you want them to hear your confession, that's just like a really good opportunity as well. Yeah, because that's what they're there for, you know. And I wish I bought things. I wish I bought something from the Seek store, actually. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just clothing. Um, hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe that's a smaller issue, but yeah. Make sure to visit Jesus in adoration as well. And,